What's up, Travel Tribe? Welcome to another video by Goats on the Road. In this week's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 20 best things to do in the city of Rome. Rome is easily our favorite city in the entire world. The first time we visited Rome was back in 2017, and we've since returned earlier this year to live there for nearly an entire month. We tried to see all the sights, eat all the food, meet all the people, and do everything we could to really get to know the city of Rome. And I have to say that after nearly a month of living there, we still love it. It's still one of our favorites. So here it goes. Here's our top 20 best things to do in Rome. Alright, so number 1 is to visit the Trevi Fountain. This is the largest baroque style fountain in the city and is one of the most famous fountains in the world. The Trevi Fountain is a must-see for anyone visiting Rome. You really can't miss it. If you're walking around Campo di Fiore area, you'll likely just stumble across it and the masses of tourists who are perpetually at its gates, throwing coins over their shoulders, making wishes, and taking photos. Number 2 on this list is Piazza Navona. This is our favorite piazza in Rome. There are about 30 plazas total throughout the city, but Navona just is on another level. It's also probably the most busy and most touristy plaza, but when you enter into this grand open area in the center of the city, you'll quickly see why it's so popular. It's filled with famous fountains, palaces, and churches, and lined by dozens of beautiful but overpriced cafes. This is a beautiful place to walk around or to just sit down and people watch for a while. Number 3 on this list is the Spanish Steps. This is another place in the city of Rome where you're going to see a lot of crowds. Everyone wants to come here and get photos, but again, when you get there, you can see why it's so busy. Climbing the steep slope between Piazza di Spagna at the base and Piazza Trinità de Monti at the top, dominated by the church of the same name, the Spanish Steps date back to 1723 and are another must-see site in Rome, as made evident by the seemingly endless crowds of photo-snapping tourists and Instagrammers seen sprawling up the entire staircase. Number 4 on this list is to visit the Pantheon. This is one of our favorite buildings in Rome, and because it's considered a holy site and a church, you can actually enter it for free. The former Roman temple turned Catholic church has an open dome ceiling that actually lets light and rain fall inside. If you manage to be here during a sunny shower, you can have some amazing, breathtaking indoor rainbows for your photos at this place. Number 5 on this list of the best things to do in Rome is to visit the Vatican City. Although this technically isn't Rome anymore, you know, you're going into another country when you're visiting the Vatican, it's something that you definitely should do when you're visiting Rome. On our first trip there, we kind of ran out of time and we didn't have a chance to go into the Vatican. But on this last trip earlier this year, we had a chance to go inside and it was definitely worth it. We joined a tour with Airbnb and it was excellent. It was about 2 hours long, which was just long enough to get like a lot of information while not being too boring. And after it was done, we had more time to walk around on our own. There's a link in the description down below if you want to join that tour yourself. Number 6 on this list is Trastavere, and this is easily our favorite neighborhood in the city of Rome. And actually on this last visit to the city when we lived there for almost a month, our apartment was based right in the heart of Trastavere, and it's just the most romantic area of the city. You know, there's these narrow cobblestone roads, and there's all these cool cafes and restaurants that have tables spilling out onto the streets, and it's just a really fun place to be. It's young, it's vibrant, it's hip, it's got the best nightlife probably in the city, and yeah, we just love Trastavere. Moving on to number 7 on this list, of course, you have to see the Roman Colosseum while you're in the city. We visited the Colosseum on our first trip to Rome as part of a tour with the company called Walks of Italy, and it was a great tour. It was 4 hours long so it felt pretty long, but it's worth it because you need to get all that information. There's so much history at the Colosseum, so much to learn, and most of the tours also include a visit to the Roman Forum, which is next up on this list. That's number 8, visit the Roman Forum while you're in Rome. The Roman Forum is this beautiful ancient plaza that's surrounded by the former government buildings of the ancient city of Rome, and it's another site that you just kind of have to see, and it's really close to the Colosseum and to a lot of other sites that are nearby, so of course you're going to check it out. If you do the tour of the Colosseum, like I said, you'll get access to it in most cases because they include a Colosseum and the Roman Forum. But even if you just see it from the road, you know, you can peer through the gates and you can see it. It's just a beautiful sight right in the center of the city. Next up on this list is number 9, and it's to visit Castel St Angelo. Also known as the Castle of the Holy Angel, this is another one of those sites that you'll probably just stumble across while you're walking around the city of Rome. It's an enormous cylindrical building at the end of the ornate Ponte St Angelo bridge, and it was originally built as a mausoleum for the Roman Emperor Hadrian and was once the tallest building in all of Rome. In the 14th century, the popes from the Vatican converted it into a castle and connected it to St. Peter's Basilica via a covered fortified corridor called Passetto di Borgo. Today, many tourists pay the €14 fee to enter, but every time we've been to Rome, we've basically just taken some photos from the bridge, and we've never actually gone inside, but it's supposed to be beautiful inside as well. That brings us to the next place that you have to visit while you're in Rome, and that is the Altar of the Fatherland. This is my favorite building in the entire city, which is hilarious because it's a lot of Romans' least favorite building. One Roman woman who we met, who grew up in the city and has lived there her whole life, said that that building is basically the worst one because it's kind of like an inedible ornamental wedding cake. It's just big and white and completely useless. So even though there's not much need for the building, there's nothing inside, there's no rooms, it is a really impressive looking site right in the center of Rome. I mean, when you walk up on this thing, it's so grand that it almost seems out of this world, you know. It's really, really cool looking, and it's super ornate. There's tons of statues around it, and there's these columns that hold up the ceiling, and it's brilliantly white, and it just looks really, really cool. There's not really much reason to go inside of the Father of the Altarland because you're just gonna go up to the columns and walk up the stairs. There's a decent view up there, but it's up to you if you wanna go in or not. But it's right close to the Colosseum and some of the other things on this list. So definitely you're not gonna miss it while you're in Rome, even if you tried. Number 11 on this list of things to do in Rome is to walk along Via dei Fori Imperiali. It's basically the imperial walkway that links Piazza Venezia to the Colosseum of Rome. So you can walk along this, and on Sundays it's actually closed to cars, so it's a pedestrian only walkway. And there's a lot of people on there playing music and busking and selling stuff on the street, and it's just a really cool place to be. So I recommend that if you're in the city of Rome on Sunday, definitely make that the day that you check out the Colosseum, you check out the Altar of the Fatherland, and you just kind of walk in between them. And there's a bunch of beautiful archaeological sites on either side of the Imperial Way as well that you can check out. And yeah, on Sunday it's the best because there's no cars, so you get it all to yourself basically, aside from the hundreds of thousands of tourists that you'll also see on the road with you. Next up is number 12 on this list, and it is to visit the Testaccio market. This was definitely our favorite market in Rome, and it's one of our favorite markets in the world. And if you are gonna visit it, I definitely recommend going and checking it out on a Saturday when a lot of local people hit up the market as kind of a place to have lunch and have some wine. And it's just an amazing place to hang out. And there's so many stalls in there selling everything from, you know, souplis to fresh fruit and vegetable to, of course, wine and sandwiches. And it's just a wicked market. If you do come on a Saturday, pick a number from the famous sandwich stall, Mordi e Vai, and then sit down for a massive and delicious €3 glass of wine at the adjacent Vino al Calce, where you can get a small free appetizer with every glass that you order. There will be a lot of other people at that wine bar, and most of them will be Roman, and they've got the same idea, you know, they have a glass of wine and some appetizers. And when you hear your number called at the next door sandwich spot, you can just walk over, grab your sandwiches, bring them back to the wine bar, and keep enjoying your wine and have it with a delicious sandwich. And the sandwiches there are fantastic, so definitely worth a try when you're in Rome. Number 13 on this list is to visit the Pyramid of Cestius. And I have to be honest, Doris and I still haven't done this. It's right close to the Testaccio market, and we went there a half a dozen times, but every time we went to the market, we'd end up having like 2 or 3 glasses of wine and eating a bunch of sandwiches. And then by the time we finally left the market, the sun was setting and the pyramid was closed for entry. So even though we tried to go many, many times, we didn't get in. So as you'll see, the photo that's being shown now is a stock Shutterstock photo, but it is something that you definitely want to see. There were originally 2 pyramids, like ancient pyramids in the city of Rome, and this is the only one left standing. And it's just really cool to see something like this in the city, and for sure the next time we go to Rome, we're gonna go and check it out. Number 14 on this list is to join a truffle experience. Italy is famous for truffle hunting, and the truffles here are so delicious. And we ended up booking this tour on Airbnb. It's an Airbnb experience, and it was fantastic. The sommelier, Moro, serves delicious truffle butters, truffle oils, and truffle cheeses and meats inside of his cool little shop. And I highly recommend doing this tour and anything that is on offer by this shop. And I've left some links down below, and you can book this stuff on Airbnb if you want. That brings us to number 15 on this list of the best things to do in Rome. And it is, of course, to do a wine tasting. Pretty much every restaurant and wine bar will offer a set tasting menu around the city. But you can also join like a tour, or you can join a wine tasting on Airbnb or on Get Your Guide or something. But really, you have to try the wines in Italy. They're fantastic. And in Rome, you can get them from all the different regions of the country. And we just love Italian wine. And it's a great way to, taste different foods as well, because in certain restaurants, they'll have like a sommelier there. And he or she will tell you what to order with each kind of wine, and you'll get to try all the different things that are on the menu as well that way. So definitely recommended, do a wine tour or at least a wine tasting in a restaurant. Next up is number 16 on this list, and it is to do a wine bar hop. Yeah, we're gonna just continue on with this wine drinking theme. There are so many great wine bars throughout the city of Rome, and you could just go from one wine bar to the next on a wine bar hop for weeks and weeks and weeks and never see them all. But there are a few of our favorites, and I'm gonna list them for you so you can check them out if you want. So our absolute favorite wine bar in Rome is called Vigneto, and it's just a few blocks north of the Ponte Garibaldi Bridge, and it's run by a hilarious old couple who appear to have been pouring wine for so many years that they've learned how to pretty much do it in their sleep. That's not the only wine bar in the city, but it's just kind of the most hip and happening on Saturdays and Fridays. It's lined up out the door, and there's people sitting on the streets, and they just kind of rest their wine glasses and wine bottles on the cars that are parked there. They lean on the cars, and everyone's drinking and having a good time. So that's definitely our favorite wine bar. And there's also a lot of great wine bars in Trastavere, and you can't really miss them. You walk down the street at night, and you'll see there's tables spilling out on the streets, and some of them have like wine barrels that you drink on. Yeah, you can't miss them. Trastavere is full of great wine bars as well. Number 17 on this list of things that you have to do while you're in Rome is to just eat. To eat pizza, eat pasta, and especially eat gelato on the street or Italian ice cream. We ate our way through Rome every time we've been there. We love food, we're foodies ourselves, and Rome is a food lover's paradise. You really can't go to Rome without eating pasta. It's everywhere, and it's usually quite affordable, with many pasta dishes starting at around €6. Our favorite restaurants for pasta included the very touristy Cajo y Gajo in Trastavere and the more local Il Duca in Trastavere, as well as Da Francesco near Piazza Navona. For pizza, you can't miss Illuminati Pizza just south of Trastavere, but the best pizza in town, in our opinion, is the incredible Naples-style pizza of Piccolo Buco. We ate this pizza while sitting next to a couple from San Marino, and they even said that it was the best pizza that they've ever had in their lives. And if people who know pizza that well say it's the best they've ever had in their lives, we trust them. And for gelato, our favorite spot to grab a cone was at Grom, which is just next to Piazza Navona. That brings us to number 18 on this list, and this is actually a day trip outside of Rome, but it's pasta making with Nonna. This is an Airbnb experience as well, and this Nonna, or Italian grandmother, is world famous at this point, so you really have to book in advance to make sure you lock in your dates. But basically what happens is you take a train from Rome, like Roma Termini station, out to the beautiful small village of Palambara, where you'll meet up with a guide who will take you to introduce you to Nonna. The tour lasts about 3 to 4 hours. That includes free-flowing wine, way too much pasta to eat in one sitting, and I really can't recommend this tour enough. And you can book it on Airbnb, like I said, so I left a link in the description down below in case you want to check it out. Number 19 on this list is something that Doris and I did pretty much every single day that we were in Rome, and that was to walk along the river Tiber. This is a beautiful river that basically splits Rome in half, and you can just walk from anywhere in the city to get there. It's never too far, it seems, especially when you're in the old town. And there's massive broad boardwalks on either side of the river, so you can just take stairs down by the bridges and then walk along it. And it's day or night, or early evening when the sun's setting, or early morning when the sun's rising. It's a stunning place to walk in the city. All right, and number 20 on this list of things to do in Rome is to join a food walking tour. There's also some free walking tours in Rome, of course, but we decided to join this food walking tour because then we get to eat and have wine along the way. And you can book the tour on Airbnb as well, so I've left a link in the description down below. But this tour was really unique because it took you to some really local shops and restaurants that are in the Jewish quarter. And then we ended up at a couple restaurants and gelato places up by Piazza Navona. So it's a really good walking and food tour, and it's only about 3 hours long. So I highly recommend booking it. And like I said, check the links in the description down below. Now I know we've already covered 20 really quickly on this list, but I want to give you guys one bonus because it's something that I think you definitely should do while you're in Rome, and that's to take a day trip out to Naples. We did this, we hopped on the train, which wasn't cheap. I do recommend booking your train a little bit further in advance than we did. If you book it on the same day, you can pay up to twice as much. So book your train a few days in advance and then head down to Naples. It's only about an hour and a half away by train, and this is the city of pizza, and we just loved our time there. So the first thing we did, of course, was eat pizza. Then we walked around all the narrow cobblestone streets, and you could smell the laundry in the streets because everyone has their laundry hanging in the windows, which is kind of like an iconic sight in the city of Naples. And at the end of the day, before we hopped back on the train, we had another massive pizza. So we were on the train heading back to Rome. Both of us were just stuffed. We basically passed out, but it was definitely worth it, worth the money and worth the time. Even if you only have a few days in Rome, try to get out to Naples, try to do it a few hours. You can do it all in a day, and it's a great day trip from the city. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also hit the notification button so you'll be notified next time we make a new video. Until next time, guys, happy travels. See you later. Yeah. You look so graceful.
Do it again.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.